Hi there, welcome to Let's Talk Tottenham. Thanks so much for watching. I wasn't going to do a show today because literally nothing had happened. It was still who's going to be the next manager? Is Conte going to be fired? 10:30 yesterday. Oh my God, I'm going to have to do a show. Conte has gone. Haas from View from the South Stand will be here shortly, but joined as well by the fantastic Brad Matthews. How you doing, Brad?
Hi, yeah, Chris. Well, as I was saying off camera, yeah, I've got a bit of a back problem, so you might get the occasional squeal of pain as we go through the show.
Well, it wouldn't be a Tottenham stream. We're talking about Tottenham without this, a load of pain.
True.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Like I say, get involved in the chat. Who do you want as the new manager? Were you surprised Conte left? Are you happy he's left? Are you annoyed he's left? What are your thoughts on everything? We've also talked about Emerson. He's injured for 6 weeks. We've got Stellini in charge and Mason in charge for the interim. So who's going to be the next manager? We don't know. And what does Harry Kane think about all of this and much, much more? Terry Wright in the chat. How you doing, buddy? Please hit the like and the subscribe if you haven't already, and the notification bell as well. Brad's got a channel, Blue Sofa Songs. You can see there. It's in the description. So give that a like and a subscribe, and it'll tell you where you can find that and what you can expect a bit later on. Well, let's talk about the big news then, Brad. Emerson's injured. No, hang on. That's wrong. Of course, this guy, after 8 days, has left by mutual consent. I didn't think that would happen. I thought it was two stubborn people. I'm not leaving because you won't pay me compensation. I'm not sacking you because I don't want to pay compensation. They seem to have come together with a mutual consent. Could have been done 7 days ago. What do you make of the car crash that is the Conte Levy last 8 days?
Yeah, I think 8 days a week is a good song by the Beatles. I've always said that I felt that Conte would leave at the end of the season, and it will be basically personal reasons.
Yeah,
I still think that comes into it, but I think after last Saturday against Southampton, I think he did what most of us fans did. Oh, that's it. I've had it with this club. And I think he actually quit last Saturday. I think in his mind, I think he came out and said a few truths in that press conference. I guess we'll talk about what we've probably already talked about it. It's interesting that it's taken 8 days to come to this conclusion. But I think if you look at and I'm not saying we should treat it at face value, but if we do treat the club statement at face value, it says by mutual consent. Yeah. So I think Conte more or less, as you said in your introduction, Conte's more or less said, yeah, I want to go. And Levy said, yeah, we want you to go. So I think most of us agree with what he said last week. The problem was, should he have said it in that particular, place? I think it was always going to be difficult for him to come back to the club and take the first training session. Whatever you think of Conte, whether you think he should stay or not. I must admit, until last night, I was thinking, oh, you know what? I think he's going to stay here.
That's what I thought as well. Yeah. I thought 8 days, nothing's happened, so he'll just stay, and then it'll be. I was surprised yesterday.
The statement, I think, as well. Look, you want to go after what you said. We want you to go. Let's see if we can, work out some sort of deal. So we all sort of, so none of us leave with egg on our face or leave, we can all get out of this sort of, like gentlemen sort of thing. So I think that's what happened. And I think, they've obviously come to some conclusion. It'll be really, really interesting to see what Conte now says in his first post-Spurs interview. Now, I couldn't find the tweet, but someone was saying he's actually made some sort of statement. But it's basically, thank you for the Spurs, thank you for all you great supporters.
Well, that's his publicist or agent who's done that. He's still having a kip or having a beer, isn't he?
Yeah. But I think that it'll be interesting when he does his first, and obviously there will be, his first interview is not going to avoid that question, is it? So it'll be interesting what he comes up, because I think if with Conte, he always says. You always read between the lines of him. I think he always says what he wants to say, but in a way that it's not obvious. And I think what he said about the board, to me, says a lot. And I was on the show earlier today. One of the guys, Ash, was saying that he thinks that something's happened during the World Cup break, and I tend to agree with him. I think that during that World Cup break, we all thought, okay, he's going to sort out his new contract, blah 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 blah, and so it's happened now. Conte always has said that he likes honesty. He would like honesty. He'd rather hear something bad that's honest than something that's good that's dishonest. And I think it's only me speculating. I think something's happened behind the scenes where something he's been promised as. I'm not saying, oh no, you're not getting in more. I think it's been changed. So I think Daniel.
You mean signings or transfer?
Yeah, I think so, because I think Conte, he knows what this club has to do to get to that next level. We've already got to the top 4 level. We're already in that sort of top 6, if you want to call it that, European football level. But it's what every fan wants. It's winning things and challenging for titles, that sort of thing. And I think he's got a way that he wanted to do that. And I think in the early days, and let's go back to the summer. Now, we can argue about whether the buyers were good buyers or bad buyers. But at that time, it was getting done quickly. It looked to me anyway like Levy wasn't getting involved in it, and certainly not in the early days. And we're stumping up the 60 million for what's his favourite? Can't remember his name. So how old I am. Yeah. And yeah, which we would never have done. We'd been haggling over the price, but no, we thumped 60 million on the table and got the player. And then as the transfer window went on, you seem to get the impression that actually Levy was dealing with it more and more and more. And then we said that he was actually doing the Jed Spence deal, which later was not one of our signings. And I'm wondering now whether there are any more of those signings that weren't Conte signings. So I think something's gone on there. I think there's been during that window when we had during the World Cup break, I think he's come to Daniel Levy. Oh, okay, Daniel, right, let's put into place what we were talking about in the summer. Let's do this. And Daniel sort of said, yeah, about that.
Well, that's what Terry Wright says here, and also Mark Cousins in the chat. Also in the chat, how you doing, Mark? But Terry Wright says this, which goes to your point. I think the January transfer window is the beginning of the end. He apparently wanted 2 centre backs and was told no by Levy, which, I mean, anyone with half a football brain can see that our centre backs, unless you include Romero, is a billion enough. And we all know from watching football, a good defence can win you things.
Yeah, and I think that's got a lot to do with the attacking football that's sort of the boring football we're playing now, is because when you can't trust your defence, then you're less likely to take risks and attack. So I think you're more going to be cautious in the midfield and make sure you keep the ball. And
there's also the other element. We're going to concede goals, so we have to attack to win a football game, because we ain't going to win 1-0.
No, exactly. And I think that we also need a centre back. I'm surprised we didn't get someone, at least one. In the summer, so that was the one failure of that window. I think we did reasonably well. Let's forget about how they all turned out, and Conte's not without blame here. Basuma took ages where he started. If he'd have playing more games, you could have had that rotation being more of a thing. And I think we missed out by not being able to rotate and have a similar sort of team play.
Yeah, everyone's to blame to some extent for the last however many years. When you go back to Poch as well, managers, but Poch made some strange decisions as well. Players not turning up in finals. Levy, we all know about that. And the 16-17 season after that is the big failing for me. I know we didn't sign anyone for 18 months, but 16-17, we had the best first 11 in the league. I wouldn't say by quite a margin, but I think it was fairly evident we had the best 1 to 11 in the league. The squad wasn't. So finishing just behind Chelsea, that was the summer to go, right, let's go for this. Bring in your Bales on loan, or at least try. That instantly improves your squad of attack. And we didn't do that. And we regressed then. And then we had the 18 months, which was just a travesty. And now we're back 10 years behind where we were. But it's interesting you say, and Terry, about the transfer window and broken promises by Levy. It's very similar if everything I've read is to be believed. I read Pochettino's book based on the 16-17 season, where he said in that at near the start, which was obviously the start of the season, if I want a player, I tell Levy who I want, he goes out, gets him. And then gradually it got less and less, the whole I want Mane, here's and G or whoever. and then all of and then goes to, I'm not a manager anymore, I'm a coach. And seemingly, I was with you in the summer. Conte's got stuck in. He's got all the players out. Pochettino got rid of Lennon and Adebayor. There was no fuss about that. Conte got rid of Ali and technically, I suppose, Ndombele and Lo Celso, albeit on loan. But it looked to me like, okay, Levy's doing what he wants. And then all of a sudden now it's come to all of this. And yeah, it's a ridiculous signing in looking back in hindsight, not because Conte's a bad manager, but because Conte is a manager who needs to win leagues, needs players who are ready now. And then he coaches them into his system and his tactics. There's very little coaching on the field in how to play football. Whereas that's Chelsea's philosophy as well. And Jose, so it worked for them at Chelsea. Whereas Pochettino's style and Potter as well, which is why it's not working at Chelsea, is get younger players, train them up, and then you can make them a bit more versatile and train them into your system. And that's Levy's philosophy. So Levy, I thought, would change. Okay, we've got a winner here. He needs what he wants. He's not going to ask for your Mbappe's at 200 million or something like that. He's, evidenced by Kulusevski and Bentancur, less than about 60 million between them. But he hasn't gone and got him ready-made players. He wants to get him Jed Spence, who's ready in a couple of years, and Pape Sarr and all of this. So in that respect, the fact that Levy isn't changing, it was just a ridiculous signing, Conte. In hindsight, at the time, I'm assuming, like most Spurs fans, he won't take any crap from Levy.
Yeah.
And it's just Levy's refusing to change. He wields the axe, and then Conte suffers. But a couple of comments, Mark Cousins. Levy is waiting for Lely to get his boots out, seeing as he's there anyway. And Terry Wright again. It's a shame Conte didn't. The defenders he wanted and needed to see his system function properly. No manager in the world could play exciting football with the squad, in my opinion. Too many deficiencies.
There's another thing as well, Chris, in that statement. Two important things in that, or two, is the fact that he just mentions top four straight away.
Yeah.
Get to four. And
when have you ever heard Conte say, I'm happy with fourth? Never.
Yeah, exactly. Never. Exactly. Yeah. And that said to me, we'll talk about Stellini and Mason later, I presume. But yeah, that sort of said it all to me. And then he had the cheek to say that we need top four, blah, 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 to reward our wonderful supporters. And I'm thinking, what?
You're talking about Levy's statement.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, wonderful supporters who hate your guts and call you all sorts. Yeah.
So you're now after 23 years, you're saying, "Oh, I really care about the supporters."
But again, like Conte, he didn't write that. He has no idea about that. He said to his agent, PR team, or whoever it is, write something that paints me in a bit of a good light, and it's just
But that Levy statement was just unfeeling, no empathy there. I don't want to have a go at accountants, because I've got some really, really, really nice friends that are accountants. But at the end of the day, Levy's an accountant, and you basically it's facts and figures. Nothing else comes into it. So
we'll talk about Conte a bit when Haas comes on, because I'm sure he'll have stuff to say about it as well. But moving on for the moment, this guy Stellini is in caretaker charge, which I find quite interesting. Mason is as well. But we knew Mason would be involved. Stellini is Conte's right-hand man, has been for years. Conte has gone. Stellini's still here. Whether that's... He said as well when he was in charge, when Conte was in hospital, he wants to be a number one somewhere. Do you think there's any... get rid of him, Daniel. I'll take over.
I don't think so.
Magic there or anything like that? I can't believe there is.
No, I don't think so. I don't think there's any sort of underhand activities going there with Stellini. I do think that he's good friends with Conte, and I've read somewhere, again, I'm not saying this is true, but that Conte basically has said, no, you stay there, and has given the go ahead to sort of I think that's I know that only
and then go mad 2 games before the end of the season like I did.
Yeah. I mean, Conte's brother, I think, is the only other player that's leaving, but you'd imagine that would be anyway. Now, as far as Stellini getting the job, I basically think that's, I'm not saying I agree with this, I'm saying this is continuity. Because this is a professional football has been the little darlings that they are. They're sort of basically trained to play in a system, which is Conte's system. And Stellini's system won't be that much different from Conte's system. And I think they've gone with that. Well, we know we've got 10 games to go. We need to win as many games to try and get into the top 4. And if you bring a new manager in with a different system, then you're going to have to try and, you've got to tell these footballers to play in a different system. And although you could argue, well, they're footballers, they should be able to play in any system. Well, unfortunately, they're a bit dim, a lot of them. And I think, for them to change, I think they're going with continuity and safety that they've actually done fairly well under Stellini. They seem to like him. They seem to like Mason. Stellini seems to like Mason. I think that's why they've done it. Now, personally, and you got, because the top 4 comes into it. If the top 4 didn't matter, then I think they would have gone and got someone. Me personally, I'd like to see him bring in a new manager, different philosophy. Say, right, there you go. Treat as we did with Conte, as I did anyway with Conte. Treat the rest of the season as pre-season. See what we've got here. See what we need to get rid of. And then you say to Paratici or whoever will be the director of football, is, okay, your main job is to get rid of all the players, or put in place all the players we've got on loan that we don't want, to sell them. So when pre-season starts, we've got a completely clean slate. We've got a team that we've got there, and then we try and find new players to go, because that's all that's going to happen. We're going to refuse to accept certain money for these players. Whether they should be saying, well, look, buy one get one free sort of one. Get rid of these players. The fact we've got 8 or 9 players on loan is extraordinary, really.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's top 4 that's dictating it, because that's where the money is. So if we were 10th, then it probably would be a new manager. But Stellini in caretaker charge says to me, it's Poch coming back, because he's free and you can negotiate when he's starting there. You probably can't take a manager who's in a job and go, oh, right, take gardening leave for 3 months. There's an argument that...
Apparently, the rumour about Nate Nagelsmann, isn't it? I think that he supposedly has got gardening leave.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to be a wanted man by quite a few teams, I think. So I'm not sure we'll be able to get him. But for me, I said it when Conte got appointed, because he's not a long-term manager generally, Conte. So it would be Poch in 18 months. It's been 16. And to me, it just said, I think the Poch deal has been done for months. I think behind the scenes, they know Conte wasn't signing a deal. Conte knows he isn't signing a deal. Probably some of the players know he isn't signing a deal. Okay, we'll go and get our next manager in place, but stay until the end of your contract, and then we'll just let you go. I think Poch is coming back, which I love Poch, but he'll be under the owner, if it does happen, that screwed him over once. He'll get screwed over again, and then it'll all go sour again. Do you come back for a third time? So, as much as I love Poch, he needs to come back really with a different set of players. Half of these players are ones that threw him under the bus anyway, and certainly a different owner who's willing to back the manager and not just hope he performs miracles. But it's going to be the same for any manager. Any manager is going to say, I want this player, that player, I want this player out, that player out. But it's not dictated by the manager. It's dictated by Levy. And we're going to have this problem all the time unless we get lucky. We got like lightning in a bottle with Poch with some of the players he had. When do you get lightning struck twice? Never really. Mark Cousins wants Poch back immediately. I think immediately will be in the summer. I think the 10 games are Stellini's and Mason's. If Stellini wins 10 out of 10, could it throw out the rule book? There wouldn't be any compensation there either because he's still on the books. Would he take over permanently? I can't see it myself.
No, I don't think so. I think Conte said to him, "No, look, mate, you stay there. Come and see me in the summer. We'll be together again. So I can't see that happening because if Stellini is, as we're led to believe, really good friends with Koch, he's going to with Conte. Yeah. There's going to be a bad taste in his mouth, isn't there, really? So
possibly.
And also with the Pochettino thing, I think if Pochettino comes in now, then again, you've got to change the whole way that we play. And that's that.
Well, half the players know how to play that way.
Well, true. But it's still in, these little, footballers, it's still asking them too much to suddenly change systems. As I say, I'm not saying that, they're professional footballers. They should be able to do different systems. But I think, in modern day football, be like, no, sorry, guys. And I think that's why Levy's playing that sort of a safety first. And also it could have a situation if what you're saying is actually fact, and they have been, Pochettino is the man for them.
Yeah, I'm not saying it is fact. That's
no, I know, but if that was the case, maybe Pochettino has actually said, well, actually, let's see how we go. Let's see how we go for the rest of the season, and then I'll give you my decision at the end of the season. So it's. I mean, I agree with you. I don't think we could have Pep Guardiola, we could have Jurgen Klopp, we could have any manager there, and if these current owners are still here, no, we're not going to be any better. So if we're not going to be any better, then why not do it with someone that we all love and who loves the club? So that's why I look at it, and at least we'll play decent football.
Yeah, I mean, couple from Terry here. Nagelsmann is a pipe dream. I think he's more likely to end up at Chelsea. He'll get properly back there. I think he'll go to Real Madrid because they were after him before. But Terry thinks Poch could end up at Real Madrid.
Well,
and I agree with this last part. I think Poch would be a fool to come back to this mess right now, certainly under these owners. Unless the owners are going to change, which 4 managers, however many managers, you've seen that not the case. So Leopard doesn't change its spots.
Well, it's all about taking risks, isn't it? Which Daniel Levy and ENIC don't want to do. It's like maybe that might change if I'm not wishing death on anyone, but if Joe Lewis was to suddenly pass away and his daughter takes over, who apparently is more risk aversive or whatever the word is, then maybe we might see a change. But I mean that's pretty strict. That's pretty sort of what's the word I'm looking for?
Morbid.
That's quite morbid and quite sort of extreme. So. But I think that I don't think ENIC are going anywhere anytime soon.
I don't. They're making so much money.
Exactly.
If you can give yourself a 500 grand pay rise, you don't need to go anywhere because you're making the money hand over fist. But
and so although I don't, with Pochettino coming back, it'll be lunacy. It's not going to work. They're not going to back him. Blah 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 blah. But it's if I'm gonna suffer being a Tottenham fan, let's suffer it with a manager that I actually like. And he likes the club.
And Mark Cousins is celebrating getting his We Are Tottenham TV, he's magic, T-shirt out of hibernation. But I think he will play attacking football, even though he's got a defence that are terrible. Attack is the best form of defence, isn't it? In some ways.
And also the high pressing as well is a good form of defence as well. That high pressing.
I mean, what do you think Levy will do now? Here's a picture that I picked up at Test Egg. What do you think he will do now? Do you think he will change, or I don't think he will change? And I think if Pochettino comes back, screwed you over once before, you came running back. I can do whatever the hell I want to you. If I fire you again and it doesn't work out in another 4 years, you'll probably come back again. So. Unless Pochettino or the new manager comes in with, I'm not signing the deal unless, and all these demands which Harry Redknapp had, but then again that went sour after a little while. And although Van der Vaart was an unbelievable player, Redknapp didn't know anything about it. He was suddenly in his office because Levy had bought him. Just luckily it worked out and he fit our system like a glove, but it could have easily gone the other way. So Redknapp came in with all these demands. So did Poch, I think, when he came in. And all of a sudden, that slowly dissipated. Conte's dissipation on that has been a bit more vapid. But I don't see Levy changing. I just see in another, we might have another good 1-2 years, really good attacking and then hoping again. And then it'll just go sour again, I think. Terry wants... Thomas Frank from Brentford. He was my pick before Nagelsmann became available. Perfect manager for this club right now. We need a proper project manager.
Well, I think Thomas Frank is an excellent manager and has done absolute wonders with Brentford. But let's face it, he's done absolute wonders with Brentford, which has been really helped by his chairman. His chairman has been
There's
a
no
big
reason
help.
For him to lead or
and he wouldn't get it at Tottenham. So Daniel Levy will do whatever makes Daniel Levy look better in the fans' eyes. We saw that with
well, he hasn't done a very good job so far.
Well, no, but when Pochettino was sacked, the fact that we had Mourinho as the next manager was that's not too bad, and it placated the fans for a while, and then made a big mistake with Nuno, and then of course what he do when Nuno was sacked, he brings in Conte, which again the fans thought, that's brilliant, great, And I think now Nagelsmann or Pochettino coming back will be the two managerial signings that I think would keep the fans quiet or quieter than any other one. So yeah, we're in the same sort of. We had 12 minutes. We're in the same shit as we've always been, and it's just very. Yeah. It's very difficult to get excited about Tottenham. I mean, I'm quite intrigued by having a manager that does play attacking football. Hopefully, a manager that does play attacking football. And Pochettino, I've heard, we all know him. And Nagelsmann's a funny one because I mean, I get my knowledge of managers and that by what I read and what people say on these streams. A few days ago, it was all Nagelsmann, get Nagelsmann, yeah. And over the next 2 or 3 days until now, suddenly I'm hearing all the opposite views about it. Oh no, don't get him. So, who do you believe? So it's we ain't got a say in it, whatever. So we just have to go with what happens.
Interesting from Terry here, if this is true. Paul Mitchell is now available. Any chance he could replace Paratici?
Yeah,
that would be very interesting because he's the one who scouted Ali, Alderweireld. There's a few others as well. And worked really well with Poch, but didn't he say did. That Levy has turned his dream job into a nightmare?
Yeah, I think so.
The same one? So again, why would you go back? I mean, there's no pressure really in terms of this. Well, in terms of the pressure you have as a manager, there's none of that for a scout. But again, sometimes the pressure is what you class as pressure, and if he's getting stressed out because he's being micromanaged by Daniel Levy, that's going to be a lot of pressure that he probably doesn't need. And his CV, Dele Alli, ignore what Dele Alli's doing now, but at the time he scouted a League One player for 5 million who became £100 million player, dead certain England setup.
Yeah.
No, I actually, he can go anywhere.
Yeah. I saw the other day that Paul I was getting Paul Mitchell. Yes, was free, but I didn't realise until today that he'd been fobbed off, told things by Levy and probably wouldn't come back. So what we really need is some billionaire owner with good morals, although that's that's sort of a bit of a juxtaposition there, to come in and say, right, I'm going to take over the club. Here's loads of money, and I want Pochettino and Paul Mitchell as my
unless Bruce Wayne is available, I don't think anyone exists like that, a billionaire. But Mark Cousins, if Poch comes back, Levy must be forced into a public apology. I'm not sure who forces him into that. That's the Bruce Wayne thing again. I think only Batman could do that. He's not going to say anything. He doesn't care, does he? It's all about money. And he's also said, unfortunately, Mitchell is wanted by United and Liverpool. Liverpool are in desperate need of scouting. They're in a big project, aren't they? But I mean, for you, your opinion here, who's in charge next season? I've already said Poch. Let me bring Hass in. How you doing, Hass?
Hey, Hass.
Oh, you might be on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. How you doing?
Fantastic. Hi, guys. How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, just enjoying the circus that is Tottenham Hotspur. And Brad is the only original voice here because we've already had our say on Bob's show, but you can't get too much of having a moan at certain people who deserve to have a moan. So in terms of the Conte stuff, 8 days after him calling his manager essentially a twat and an idiot, takes 8 days for any action. Were you surprised? I didn't think mutual consent would happen. I thought Conte wouldn't leave because I want my compensation. And I thought Levy wouldn't sack him because I'm not paying any compensation. And they seem to have come to some agreement. So were you surprised that it happened? And very late as well yesterday evening.
Look, nothing surprises me with Spurs these days. But I was, having said that, I was surprised. It was late last night on a Sunday evening, late Sunday evening. When everyone's getting ready to go to bed, to go work next day. And, even myself, I was getting ready for bed and like pinged up on my phone. We've agreed to separate, part our ways with Conte. I was like, wow, that's just come out of the blue. Yeah. But interesting really that they've kept Stellini on with Ryan Mason. And, it's just, and the reason I say that is, obviously, Stellini himself said that, Conte is the main man. I work with Conte, but he's the main man around here. I'm just covering for him, sort of thing. So whether there was a sort of power struggle between the two, who knows? I don't know. But it seemed like a bit of a strange one to me. Whether it was a Daniel Levy money saving exercise, but it just shows how is there any loyalty in football? I don't know.
Well, Brad, you said that Conte has given him the
his
blessing to stay there.
That Conte sort
whether
of
that's true or not, we don't know.
I think Stellini will join Conte next season. I was just saying that I think it's the continuity that they don't really have to change the system that much. The players seem to get on with Stellini, and I think that's that's the reason that they've done that. They've kept them in there. They don't have to bring in a manager that's going to have new philosophies, new ways of playing. When the bottom line, and we all read the statement, is that top 4 Champions League is the god of football these days, and I think that it's probably safer to do it with a coach that the players have played with, and you don't change the system that much.
You know what this confirms, Brad? To me, it's not. He didn't get the sack because of the football he was playing. I think because we are going to continue playing that football with Stellini in charge. So it can't be the football. He's obviously been sacked off the back of what he said, and that sort of confirmed it. The fact that Stellini is still there sort of confirms that for me.
I think it would have been incredibly difficult for him to come back tomorrow and take training after what he said. And I think they spent this eight days. It said mutual agreement. I think it's spent the 8 days working out how they can both leave. I was saying earlier, that I think Conte, in his own mind, quit last Saturday.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and I think that they spent this 8 days working out how they're going to do it and how they're going to do it with both leaving with with some sort of without any egg on their face, which you could argue is very difficult with our club.
Whichever way you look at it, it's a complicated situation when a manager comes out and calls out so many people, from the board to the players to the club itself, to the mentality, the structure, and everything else. It is a difficult position, and any chairman in any league would, struggle to sort of keep someone on after something like that. I know it happens in Italy. It's happened with the likes of Trapattoni. Italians do that. They come out and they say what's on their mind, and then they get on with it. That's just the way it is. But look, I very much believe we've missed. We've missed the boat with Conte. Managed to get him in, but really didn't do much with what we had in terms of the management and everything else. We could have done so much more. But I just think now the club, it just also confirms to me that the club isn't ready to have these world-class managers in place. They're really not ready. If you're not going to do anything, if you're not going to back these world-class managers and give them what they need, then you got to stick with projects. You got to stick with projects. You got to stick with youth, and you got to have some sort of plan. We're never going to be a Chelsea, not with this board anyway, and not that I'd want to be Chelsea anyway. But we're never going to be that club. We're never going to be that club. I mean, if we asked fans now, would they have a Manchester City scenario where they've been taken over by the Middle Eastern sort of groups and a lot of investment have been made? Would they accept that? There's a lot of things to balance, but ultimately I don't even think the fans know what they want sometimes. Do they want to win stuff now? Do they want a project? Do they just want to see good football? What do you want? If the fans don't know that and the club don't know that, we're in limbo.
Well, I think the fans want, if the fans see someone like Pochettino come in 2015, whatever it was, and start to build something, they're quite willing to be patient. And then we did have that limited success with him. But when you employ a win I know it's a cliche term, the old win now manager with Mourinho and then Conte, then the fans are going to want to win trophies because, we got this manager in. He wins wherever he goes. Yeah.
Exactly. You've hit the nail on the... You're spot on. You've hit the nail on the head there because this is what we all expected. Me, yourself, perhaps Chris even. When Conte come in, we all thought, for a second, blimey, he's actually going to go out and give him what he wants, surely, because he's got Conte in now. If he's got Conte in, that means he's going to spend the money.
Yeah, exactly.
The early summer signings, we thought, that's it. We're turning a corner here. And then slowly but surely sort of reverted back to type.
Yeah,
reverted back to type. And had us all fooled. It had us all hook, line, sinker. And this is what I'm saying. You're absolutely right, Brad. You bring in someone of that stature, you expect that you're going to play to his strengths.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't expect someone like him to come in and be like, right, I'm going to adapt to Tottenham now. I'm going to sort of do the Tottenham way and bring the youth in, give a chance. I'm not saying, you shouldn't, but he was never going to bend down to Tottenham's will. It was always going to be his way. Yeah. It's like, if you've got a bit of money, it's like if you hired someone like, I don't know, a famous singer like Beyonce to come and sing for you at your birthday party. You're not going to bring her in and they say, by the way, can you keep it to 20 minutes? Because I can't quite afford to keep you on longer than that. And can you just sing happy birthday for me? It's just, I don't know. It's a weird analogy, but you know what I'm saying. It's, and in a nutshell, I just don't think as a club, as a structure, we are not ready to host big time managers. We're not. It's as simple as that.
I said it on Bob's show earlier. It's just a ridiculous appointment looking in hindsight because, like you say, Hash, you bring Conte in, for a fact, if you've been watching football and following him, if you give him what he wants, which are the players who are ready now, he'll win you leagues, he'll win you cups, he'll win you both. But Levy seemingly had no interest in doing that. So therefore, it's a ridiculous appointment. You're bringing in a world-renowned win now manager as a project manager, and it just doesn't make any sense. But
Terry Wright is in the chat at the moment. His last comment there, he talks about making huge investments in scouting network and youth development. Absolutely, that's something that I'm on board with because our club, we haven't had any type of elite structure in terms of scouting, youth development for the last 5 years now. Yeah. I know Ollie Skip's come through. Ollie Skip's, probably going to be a decent player.
It was in the comment that it was in the comments that Paul Mitchell's now available as well. So if that happened, then you could have that back again. But again, it's the same.
I think
as Poch, why would you come back?
I think it's Bridges. He'll, like someone said in the chat, the likes of United, Liverpool, probably interested in him. He's not going to come back to Daniel Levy. If you go somewhere like Liverpool, United, and he says, look, there's a player in the Bundesliga, plays central attacking midfielder, 19 years old, but he's going to cost around 45 million, but he's going to be worth 100 million in the next 2 years. They'll go out. He knows that. Those clubs will go out without a second thought and they'll snap him up. Imagine if he did that at Tottenham. And he probably did do that at Tottenham. He probably did say, guess what? There's an Nkunku in the Bundesliga or there's whoever in League One. And it's just fallen on deaf ears because I'm not going to pay that much.
We did that with Dele Alli, didn't he?
He did that with Dele Alli, yeah. Exactly. It's a prime example. And it's just bewildering how, if I'm the owner or chairman of a football club and I can see this guy is bringing in top-class talent and Dele Alli being proof of that, why would I not keep him on?
Yeah.
Especially since my manager at the time, Pochettino, has such a strong connection with him as well. Imagine if those two stayed together and they worked in partnership, through the latter sort of years when Poch was in charge. Honestly, we would have had the refresh. We wouldn't have even broken the bank to get in quality players because Mitchell knows talent. His network is absolutely second to none. Okay, he would have identified players to come in and refresh that squad without any sort of massive outlays, so to speak. You'd think that would be right up Daniel Levy's street, but
It's because he doesn't understand football. He understands business. He probably thinks, oh, well, there's one good coach. They're a dime a dozen. Not the case. Not the case at all. I would imagine that's what Daniel Levy thinks. And
But
one good coach there, one good scout there. I'll just go out and get another one if he doesn't like it.
Isn't it what Paratici's role is supposed to be, isn't it? It's supposed to be getting that scouting network sorted out and to make it, which we may never see if it works because, well, actually now his court case, which was today, has been postponed until May, so we've got him for the rest of the season. But yeah, that was his job, which even in hindsight, it actually makes the Conte appointment. And look, I hold my hands up. I was dancing in the street when we appointed Conte. Don't get me wrong.
I think we all were.
It makes it seem a really strange appointment when he brings in Paratici to improve the scouting network, so we get young players coming up, and then we employ a manager, Conte, who notoriously doesn't bring young players through. So it's really. I mean, the song that you don't know what you're doing is, I think, quite relevant in this case.
Mark
right here that Mitchell was the one who scouted Grealish until Levy balls it up.
Yeah,
and
we could have snapped
25 million. 25 million could have had him.
Again,
absolutely ridiculous.
And he ends up going to Manchester City for 100.
I'd love to know if there's a parallel universe somewhere where they didn't sack Pochettino and they actually backed him with the rebuild he wanted to see where we'd be now. I would hazard a guess and say that we will be probably challenging Arsenal for the title this season if that had been the case.
Yeah, well, that'll be the same universe, Brad, where I've got hair. It doesn't exist. Anyway, next. Who do you think Haas will be in charge next season? For me, I don't want it because it's too early, but I think it will be Poch. Is a bunch of players who have been listed. There's not a slide big enough to list everybody. But for me, I think Stellini in charge. I think it points to the fact it will be Poch in the summer. I want Nagelsmann now, but I don't think that will happen. Who do you think will be in charge next season? Or could it be Stellini if he wins 10 out of 10?
It'd be incredible if Stellini won 10 out of 10. And surely you'd have to think, I mean, even if you won 8 out of 10 and we've got Champions League, I guarantee you right now, Levy will hire him as manager. I guarantee you now. I don't think that would happen. I don't think we'll win 8 out of 10. But Stellini aside, I don't think Nagelsmann will come. I said this from day one when the news broke. I just think he's a young manager with plenty of options. He has a plethora of options right now. You know, there could be vacancies at Real Madrid.
Big clubs as well. You're not talking about your Brighton's
or situation at Chelsea. You know, we don't know the situation at PSG. All these clubs will pay a handsome dollar, and you know, he'll have amazing players to work with. So, you know, I say that coupled with the fact that why would he want to come into such a toxic environment at the moment when there's so much going on at the club? I hate to say this, and it really pains me to say it, but there are problems at the club, and whoever comes in needs to be made aware that they are going to have to tackle huge issues at the club, not just about managing or coaching players, but also about shifting the mentality, changing everything from top to bottom. But as we know, that has to start from the top with Levy. Levy has to give him the key to be able to do that and say, look, you're in charge. I'm going to step aside. I want you to change everything top to bottom, mentality, everything, you know, down to what the players eat and everything else. You're in charge. Okay. We all know that's not going to happen because there's too much of a business interest.
Well,
it happens at the start because Redknapp had that at the start. That went sour. Poch had that at the start, went sour. So Conte seemingly, with the summer transfer window, had that at the start and it went sour very quickly. So,
well, this is it, isn't it? This is our whole philosophy. The whole club philosophy is top four, is European football. That's the philosophy. It's not winning. It's not winning titles. No, that goes all the way down to the players. You know, we want to have someone that comes in and say, right, and my goal is to challenge for the title within the next 5 years or whatever it might be.
Yeah. You know, I was listening to Talk Sport the other day. I don't really listen to Talk Sport that often, but I have been of late, everything that's going on. And Tim Sherwood was on. And he was talking about how when Harry Kane come through, And he said it was really hard working. He earned his chance to come through at the time. They had other strikers there, the regulars, but he earned his spot. And it was called up immediately to a meeting with Daniel Levy, with Franco Baldini was there at the time as well. And Daniel Levy was asking questions. Why, who's your squad for tomorrow? Who's your starting 11? So this is chairman, asking about, who's going to play this, that, and the other, trying to dip his fingers into what the manager should be doing. And then he was asking questions around, well, why is Harry Kane playing? Why isn't X, Y, Z playing? Why is he playing? And, it just shows you how much meddling goes on from the top.
That's what you appoint a manager for, isn't it? If you want to be the manager, and then sack yourself after.
There you go. There's your next manager.
But, Chris,
Levy.
I'm sure this comes down to also the fact that certain players play because they bring in money. And I can name you like Son. Yeah. He'll probably ask questions. Well, why isn't Son playing this week? Is Son in the squad next week? I've got a shitload of people from South Korea, wherever, coming down to see Son. I want them to be able to spend money in a club or hang around or whatever. If Son's not going to play, I'm losing money. I can imagine something like that happening, honestly. It shouldn't, but it does. This is our club. Jamie Redknapp come out on Sky Sports. I think it was today.
Yeah. And
he was saying the same thing. We are not a club built to win things. And these are ex-football players from our club, coming out and talking against the board. There are more and more of them coming out at the moment. And, I've never want to sort of say, if someone is pro-Levy or whatever, to say, look, I want you to change the way you're thinking. You've got to think like me. It's not like that. But all I ask is people to be a little bit more open-minded about what's possibly going on at the club. I'm not going to change anyone's sort of position or stance on the club. And that's up to you. But all I ask is, on my show, we're bringing people that, back Levy. We're bringing people that hate Levy, but it's important to get a perspective from different sides, because I think it's important to see how people think differently to what we think. And maybe there's somewhere, we can meet in the middle, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's is what it is, mate.
Yeah. A few comments here. Wayne Bonner just joined, better late than ever. Cheers, Wayne. Always on Spurs channels. Really good support of all the Spurs channels. Question: do you think Stellini wants to stay at Spurs? Personally, I think he does. We'll come to that in a bit. I'm just going to read comments out. Also, Sherwood certainly seems to like taking credit for Kane. Fair play to him. Levy needs to stay away from the team and players. In terms of who the manager will be, Terry Wright, it could be Potter. I think Chelsea could very well sack him in the next couple of months, bring in Nagelsmann. I wanted Potter before we got Nuno, so that would be interesting. And also, Nagelsmann, too smart to take the job. There's almost zero chance of real success, unfortunately. And
Absolutely.
Mark Cousins, and pretty much following on from that, Mark Cousins, if Nagelsmann was coming, Stellini wouldn't be here now. We'd have got him now. That's what I think as well. That's why I think it's Poch. But
unless there's this gardening leave.
Yeah. Stellini, though, Brad, does he want to stay at Spurs? I'm not sure he wants to stay at Spurs. I think it's... I didn't think about it until you said it, but I think it probably is a continuity thing. And at the end of the season, they all part their ways. But do you think he wants to stay, or he's just doing it because Conte said just do this for 10 games?
I think
if that's true.
I think if he's got some sort of rapport with the players and the staff, the other coaches, and he's genuinely enjoying being here, then why wouldn't he stay for that 3 or 4? It's only 10 games, let's face it. And he knows that if he wants, he's always said he does want a number one coaching position. If he does well, if he gets top in the Champions League, that's going to do well on his CV for getting a job somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably a bit of both. It's a bit of, I've worked with these boys, I like these boys. And also, well, actually, if I do well in this next sort of 10 games, my next job could be a lot closer than what it might be. So I think I'm not saying he wants to stay permanently, but I think he wants to stay. And I'm absolutely sure that he's had a conversation with Conte. They've chatted about this very thing. And Conte said, look, mate, I ain't going anywhere. I'm still going to be around. You try and, do what you can do. I'm sure this conversation has happened. But I don't think Stellini wants to stay after the end of the season. But I think I think he does for this season.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Dawson, I think it was, said it on Sky Sports. Any caretaker job is a job interview.
Yeah, exactly. And whether it be for Tottenham or another club.
Yeah. What's the point, FC? Always in the chats as well. How you doing, buddy? Listening with my dogs on walk. Probably dog is probably more talking more sense than the fella on the top left. But yeah, who will be the next manager, do you think? Poch is obviously heavily favoured. Nagelsmann is now in the conversation. Do you think there's any dark horses out there who or people we haven't even mentioned?
Yeah, look, I mean, first of all, you've got to say, as someone else mentioned, I forgot who, Michael Dawson. Yeah, it is going to be an audition for Stellini and Mason.
Yeah, that's what he said. Not job interview, audition. That's what he said.
Yeah. There's the guy over at Feyenoord who I like the look of, to be honest. Fits our sort of profile of manager. In the shape of in Slot, I believe his name is Arne Slot.
I've only heard about him today, actually. But,
he's done wonders at Feyenoord, to be honest, and that's a league pretty much dominated by Ajax, and he's done well. He's gone toe to toe on a very tight budget. Certainly someone that would interest Levy financially. Certainly, I can see us going for someone like that. In terms of someone big name, and I said this before, I don't think Nagelsmann's going to come. Honestly, the job at hand at the moment, is it worth the stress? No. Can he go somewhere else stress-free? Yes. So again, would be it would be a massive outlay from the club again for someone who we're not going to sort of listen to or back.
Yeah, I mean,
so for me, it needs to be someone that comes in and says, right, I can operate under these finances. I can operate with majority of what we've got at the club. And I can possibly hit your targets of top 4. Yeah, I'm sorry, but that's how it's got to be. With the board, we all have to accept. Look, this is the thing, right? We all have to accept that the board, they're not going anywhere anytime soon.
No.
If their ambition is top 4, how do we change that? How do we bring in someone that says, we've had 2 of the best managers, right, who are used to winning leagues, major trophies and stuff. And if they can't change the mentality, not of the players, but of the board, Levy and everyone else, then who is going to?
Yeah.
Who? There is no one. So for me, whoever takes over, if it's a big name, the spin cycle starts again. 18 months later, we'll be looking for a new manager again. And if it's someone who's sort of under the radar, low profile, we as fans, we have to be patient and we have to accept that change is difficult at the moment. As much as I want change, as much as I want those owners out of the club, it's difficult. I know people saying protests, this, that, and the other. It's difficult, man. It's honestly, it's so difficult. If someone comes in, if they're looking to sell the club, they just name their price, don't they? It was 3.5 billion, and then it was like, no, we want 5. Or
we haven't heard anything from that guy. I can't remember his name. It was in the news for a couple of days, and then all of a sudden, nothing. And
but guess what? Season ticket renewals are coming up soon, and we're going to be linked. We're going to be linked, right, with every top class manager you can imagine, and we're going to end up with someone underwhelming until those tickets are sold. Mark my words. There's people already. On the marketing department, working out all the sort of adverts that they're going to put out, or, who the club's going to be linked with. Honestly, it's a shit show. We as fans just want to know what's going on. We want some sort of transparency. We just want direction from the club. And if the direction is we want top 4 and we want a manager to come in and play attractive football, but maybe win some trophies along the way, then so be it. We'll accept that. But
at least it's honest, isn't it? Yeah, we don't even have honesty. But yeah, what's the point? Says I love Arne Snot. What a manager. Mark Cousins, get Birkinshaw in, even if he's 90. I mean, he will be of the age where he doesn't give a crap what people say. And Terry Wright, Brad, good. Oh no, wrong one. Get Burke. I'm going mad. If Paratici is still around, don't count out Paolo Fonseca.
That's a name. Actually, that's a name.
And Wayne Bonner says Eddie Howe. I don't know why he's leaving Newcastle. But,
no chance.
But what about those two, Brad? Fonseca, I think that's a good shout with him still
Well,
there.
actually,
Eddie Howe, I don't think a chance.
I was sort of getting to the stage with Fonseca where I was actually looking forward to him being our new manager. When I was reading about
I think
the way
he's too far the other way. I think he's so attacking.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sure if Fonseca comes to Tottenham, we'll have some really, really wonderful football. But it's probably only going to get sacked when we start losing. So
because of his so much attacking, no emphasis on the defence, it just reminds me of Ozzy Ardiles as manager. We scored about 3 goals each game. Unfortunately, we conceded 5.
That was a problem. Eddie Howe, I think. Eddie Howe. Yeah,
I don't think there's any chance he goes from where.
But he's, why is he going to leave Newcastle? Why? They're on the up at the moment. Why would he leave them? So I don't know. It's who'd have thought we got Nuno when we got him? And for all these managers, we end up with someone that we thought, what really? So
yeah. I mean,
again, it comes down to with Paratici in this court case. What's the point of employing him into getting a new manager in where he might not be around next season anyway?
Doesn't it? So
I don't know why you keep him in when he's obviously done something wrong, because you don't get a court case.
Well, that's the thing. Paratici, you presume, is going to be doing the next 3 or 4 months, looking at his contacts and trying to look for players, blah 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 blah, and then suddenly, if he loses his court case, it's like, well, what happens to all these leads that you got out? They just come to nothing, and then you get someone else. So I'm surprised. I'm really surprised. And I know it's really, really harsh. I'm surprised that Paratici is still at the club, actually, because I think once that all happened, I thought, well, is his position untenable? But then you could argue if Paratici's position is untenable, then you'd argue that Daniel Levy's position is untenable as well, because he employed the bugger. So.
I mean, what must this guy think? This is him hearing the news that he's got a 15th manager of the season. But what must Harry think to all of this? He's always said, if the club are progressing and matching my ambition, I'll stay. We've just sacked another manager, a winning manager this time, who we haven't really backed or there's talk now that the Richarlison transfer was a Daniel Levy transfer. What must Harry think, Hass?
He must be thinking, we go again. Famous words of the club, isn't it?
Or
go again.
Go again.
Who was it on Sky Sports? Someone said he's probably used to it. He's been there so long and this has been happening. He's probably used to it. But it must still be frustrating for him. And just what is the point?
Honestly, just like what's the point in the chat? You might as well go on paper. What's the point, FC? He must be thinking, here we go. Yeah, but he must love the club to be even considering another contract. Like, he must love the club more than any of us put together to contemplate signing the dotted line again, because he's been let down time after time again. And for the records that he's broken, I mean, it's incredible what he's done. England and Tottenham top goal scorer all time. Absolutely amazing. For me, generational talent. Probably won't have anyone like him for a very long time. Very long time.
3 cheers for Tim Sherwood. He made it. He made Harry Kane who he is.
He owes everything to Tim Sherwood. I think you should give him a cut of his wage as well, to be honest.
I mean, Tim Sherwood did do very well when Redknapp was going to bring him back from Millwall because he was getting pelters from the crowd, and Sherwood said, no, it will toughen him up. So he does deserve credit for that. But yeah, Sherwood seems to like taking a lot of credit. But
look, I think we need to, in terms of Harry Kane, right, we need to prepare for life without Kane at some point. I'm not saying that point needs to be next season, because we're at a crucial point in this club's history at the moment. And we need to get over the line, and we need to do something. In terms of, we need to win something. We're never going to be a massive club if we've got nothing to show for it. Okay. You don't get trophies for playing attractive football, but coming away with nothing. And I do appreciate, there's times this season where, I just wish that we on the pitch, it was attractive, attacking football. But ultimately, we need something to show for it. We really do. And the owners need to realise this. And I'm sorry, Chris, I'm going back to the owners. But
that's all right.
Really and truly, the buck stops with them. And I said this on a tweet I made yesterday as well. Managers come in And, managers are allowed to make mistakes. They make mistakes time to time. But ultimately, 16 of them, or whatever it is now, the buck stops with the buck stops up top. Any other organization, whether it's in the public sector, whether it's anywhere else, if you're underperforming and you're getting paid a lot of money to be looking after the organization, your position comes into question. Okay.
Yeah.
But at Spurs, it never does, because they hit their financial targets.
Exactly.
When we have two different interests, or two different sides, where you've got the footballing side and then you've got the financial side, and it's like the financial side always comes first. What everyone must remember is that certainly people that own Spurs, they need to realise that first and foremost, you bought a football club, and it's because of that football club you are where you are now in terms of all the financial success that you've gained. So that has to be respected. It has to be respected. And, I just think the fans have been let down more than anything as well. We are starved of success. There's fans that, they skimp from shopping or whatever just to be able to go to a match every week. Okay. I'm not saying there aren't other people out there who are hard up. There's a lot of other things going on, but I'm just talking in the context of football. That people give up precious things in life to be able to go and watch their team, and they just want to return on something. If we won, like next season, if we won the FA Cup, if they said to me in the next 3 years you're going to win the FA Cup, but not win anything for 2 seasons after that, I'll take it. I'll take it, because it's something we can hold on to. And, at the moment, there's nothing there. It's a fucking, sorry, I don't want to swear, but it's a circus at the moment. It really is. I don't know.
Was that you swearing? I don't want to swear, but it's a circus. There's plenty more words you could say, Hass, than that are offensive.
No, I did swear before that. I had to lead up to it. But, that's why I apologise. But, it's become a circus, Chris. And,
it has been for a while.
If I'm paying for something, I want to watch. And I want to, I want to watch first and foremost a successful team. But, as a fan, look, we've been here before. We've been to the point of where we've started projects. And it's not a defeatist attitude, but look, I'm willing to start again. Press that reset button, do what's right. The owners need to come out and talk first and foremost. They need to come out and release a statement or talk or have a press conference or whatever it is. They need to man up and come and speak to the fans. And the fans need to unite as well. I'm sorry, but there's a huge divide amongst the fans at the moment.
That was evident on Talk Sport during the week, wasn't there? A very avid Matt Levy out and a very...
they were loving it on Talk Sport. They were loving it.
But in terms of the divide of the fans, that was kind of an illustration of that.
They illustrated that perfectly by keeping on the two fans.
Yeah.
They knew at the time that one was pro and one was sort of against. So they knew what they were doing. But that was a perfect example, Why can't we as fans come together? I'm not saying everyone has to have the same ideology, but as fans, we all want the same thing, right? And we said this time and time again. We all want to be successful, and we want something to show for it. We've been bantered way too many times. It's just, we've had an incredible 5-6 years under Pochettino, where sort of we were on the cusp of winning things. And then
we believed in every game as well that we could win a game.
And then bang, we've been shot straight in the face again. It's like, we've got
some people have made points in the last few days that we're not ready to win trophies. We're not good enough to win trophies. Well, okay, I agree that we're not ready to be challenging for league titles or Champions League, but with domestic cups, I mean,
was Leicester ready?
Yeah, we should.
Were we ready? Were Portsmouth ready?
Yeah, exactly. We should.
Like Terry says here, great opportunity to win the FA Cup this season.
We
so
should
disappointing.
Up to Manchester City in the semi-final, and okay, that's a difficult game, but a semi-final and then a final, it's two difficult games to win.
A question to the chat.
Yeah.
Question to the chat. Would you have taken an FA Cup? Would you have gone for the FA Cup and sacrificed top 4? Just question for the chat, and even you guys as well, because my answer to that for me would be yes. I will take the FA Cup.
Yeah, I think
we finished 5th
me
or 6th.
too. Me too.
Even if we ended up in Europa League, then so be it. But have something to show for it. Have something to show for it. Big up Marlon as well.
Yeah. All day for Terry in terms of your question.
I don't think we'll have anyone. I think everyone will be saying, "Yeah, we'll take a cup." In the chat,
Brad, I want to come to this from Wayne. I showed it earlier. To me, this is the point where Kane's loyalty is tested. Levy will have his work cut out. We were chatting yesterday. You're still on the camp. Kane is staying.
Yeah, I am. I call me a silly romantic.
By his decision or Levy's decision?
I think whoever we get in as manager will be very influential in whether Kane.
He'll want assurances as well. Won't he?
I think he will, but I think people. He obviously loves the club. He's been at the club for all this time. He's born close to the club. His family are Spurs supporters.
Okay. Let's hope we don't get Steven Gerrard though, because he doesn't know where the training ground or the ground is. Doesn't seem to understand. Doesn't seem to know where Walthamstow is.
Amazing amount of bollocks I've ever heard in my life last night. Is luckily.
Absolutely ridiculous.
The wonderful world of Twitter have taken him out on it. But, I think, let's face it, the only time that Kane looked like he was going to leave was the Nuno season. And I think the fact that we had Nuno as our manager and took so long to get...
Do you think that was a catalyst for that? If we'd have had Conte then rather than Nuno, do you think there wouldn't have been any Kane wants to leave?
I think because he always said if the club shows ambition, and although it didn't look to it, it hasn't turned out that way... When we signed Conte, and you could argue even when we signed Mourinho, it was showing some form of ambition.
Yeah.
So I think the new manager, and again, Pochettino or Nagelsmann, I think will be two managers that he'll think, well, actually, that is showing a bit of ambition. I still think he'll stay.
Do you think it will be showing ambition if we get Poch back again, the manager who got sacked 5 years ago, whatever it is?
Well, I think that Kane obviously got on well with Pochettino, and I think there is definitely a bond there. And Kane will be. I get really annoyed actually. People seem to be rewriting history.
Sorry,
they're rewriting history. Suddenly, no, he didn't win anything. Oh, what a man! Didn't win anything.
No.
Those 6 or 5 years that Pochettino has had, I saw for the first time in my watching Tottenham, I saw us have 2 league title challenges. I saw us get to, or Saiki was there for a Champions League final.
Yeah.
I saw 2 other finals. I saw so many semi-finals. Okay, it didn't work out. We didn't win anything. But those 3 or 4 years was the best memories I've had of supporting Tottenham certainly in the ENIC years.
Certainly Premier League era.
And when people seem to forget that, and now all you hear now is, we didn't win anything. Well, we came bloody close. And let's face it, I don't think you can blame Pochettino for that. Yeah, don't get me wrong. He did make errors. I'm not saying he was perfect. But, he said that we need to rebuild this team. He said that the Champions League winning team or who got to the final, that was their zenith. And we have to start rebuilding. They never did. So we will never know if they had have backed him and let him rebuild. We could, as I said before, we could be sitting here challenging Arsenal for the title.
Yeah, from Terry right here regarding Kane. Before we move on, I don't know if any team is going to meet Levy's demands. 100 million for 30-year-old with a year left. I don't think so either. But then it is in Kane's court. It's only a year left. Well, sell me for 60, or I'm gone for free. Hit that like, and please
smash that like button, people. Let's get that like.
Hit the like button.
Yep.
Has come out in the next in the last few hours anyway. Moving away from the new manager and everything. 6 weeks. Emerson is out for.
How long?
6
weeks. 6 weeks. He's got to have an operation. Injured himself against Morocco for Brazil yesterday. It's just a shame, isn't it? He was starting to really put in some good performances after really getting a lot of flack. Maybe it's the Porro thing, but it's a real chance now for Porro to really state that claim, and then Emerson is on the sideline. May very, very well change, because in 3 months' time there's going to be a new manager who has different ideas anyway. But it's just a shame for Emerson that he's not going to really feature in the last 10 games a huge amount. Maybe the last 4 or 5, but I always like Emerson. His attitude and willingness to try and work That's the bare minimum you expect as a footballer, and a lot of footballers don't even have
Absolutely.
that. So I've liked Emerson. His just quality a lot of times hasn't been there, but he has improved. And it's just a shame for him.
Look, I think obviously first and foremost, I hope he gets, he recovers soon, and we wish him well. He has done well, considering how it all started for him this season, and parts of last season even. And it's a shame that he's going to be out for 6 weeks and possibly the rest of the season now, because you'd think 6 weeks out and then rehabilitation, training, he probably might make an appearance last game of the season. However, how important is it now, or how lucky are we that we managed to get Porro through the door with this injury to Emerson? Because ultimately we would have been left quite short on that right-hand side. It would have been in, a bit of a pickle. But as it stands, Porro's come in. And, despite the result against Southampton, he put in a shift for me that was worthy of my match at the time. Because by all accounts, it wasn't a great game, but he was the one that stood out for me. He was the one that showed that fire and intensity. So, it's a good job that we've got him. I can't see Emerson coming back anytime soon for this season anyway. But look, injuries have blighted us this season. There's no two ways about it. We've had to contend with.
Like Terry says, he fears the club is cursed.
Bentancur, just as he's coming into form, bang, injured. Emerson coming into form, bang.
Richarlison's pretty much spent the whole season.
Yeah.
Well, he spent the whole season.
And now Ben Davies as well is out for 5 6 weeks.
Richarlison as well. He spent the whole season crying. You know what I mean? So, it's Ben Davies as well. Solid utility player. We've not got the option of him anymore. So it's going to have to be the likes of, Longley,
Sanchez,
Tanganga coming in. I don't want to see Sanchez.
I don't either, but he's just... I
think the problem, it could actually work out in our favour, because it almost literally forces us to play attacking football, or more attacking football, because we've only got two wing backs. We've got Porro and Perisic, because all our other ones, Emerson and Davis, aren't fit. I mean, you could argue that maybe Longley could play at left back or left wing back. I don't know.
Where's Cess? Is he injured, Sessegnon?
Yeah, he's out.
He's still not.
Again,
not
that's a
fit,
silly question, really.
Yeah. So we quite literally will have to play with the same 11 for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, to think that we had like 5 or 6 wing backs at the start of the season, and now we're down to 2. But that shows you how important the wing back role is in Conte's system. And
how you doing, Bobby? Kate?
Hey, Bobby. Yeah, you're right.
Position where we've ended up getting the most sort of injuries is the wing back position. That just shows you how important, how integral those wing backs are to that system. And it's telling that we're only down to 2 now. So I think next season, 100%, we're going to have.
Well, Doggy will be back. Jed Spence, I thought, will be back.
Backups will be essential for next season in that, wing back role. And perhaps even one more as a sort of utility backup that can play left or right. It's going to have to be the way. But just one thing I wanted to touch on, Chris. He was talking about, Harry Kane wanting insurances and stuff. Sorry, it wasn't Harry Kane.
The manager assurances on Kane.
It was even about players, Kane, who can bring in and stuff. But the loans that we have out at the moment, that is a major problem that needs to be tackled next season.
Terry mentioned that in the chat earlier.
I didn't see that comment, but big up to Terry for mentioning that. It's a huge problem. £250 million worth of talent out on loan. And it's been, and this is why I say Paratich's position should also be untenable at the moment, because look at all these signings. I mean, look at the Brian Hill debacle, for example.
Oh, God, yeah.
And people are going to turn around and say to me, yes, but look at Kulu and Bentancur. But how easy would it have been for him to go up to a club that he knows very well, the ins and outs of, Juventus, and make that deal happen? Not too hard, I should imagine. But I bring up the Hill example because, it was only a couple of weeks ago where him and Lamela combined to score a goal. We actually, spent £30 million on this player and gave Lamela in exchange. We should have just kept Lamela and saved that money. And he would have at least when Lamela played, he showed some heart. He scored some crucial goals for us. No denying that. He even scored that outrageous Rabona against Arsenal. And for me, I think personally he would have done really well as someone who could have come on as a sub for Conte in some of these games. Someone with that sort of battling attitude that will come on and just bulldoze his way and show that little bit of spark. And Chris, I think your mic's turned off.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about Lamela. I'm sure
it was injuries that blighted him, though. Again, wasn't it? It was. I don't think he ever had like 3 months solid.
But what would have been the difference?
He could have played every game.
What's the difference between him having injuries and having Hill? Because Hill ultimately didn't start hardly any games. So I would rather have kept him, even though he's very injury prone. But look, Lucas Moura is the same as well. How many times has he played this season? Injuries. For me, it was just £30 million not spent very well, and that's just one example. But
we could do a whole show on all that. Adam McFarlane, how you doing, buddy? Everton must be rubbing their hands together. We got them next, but
Dr. Tottenham, mate, don't worry about that.
Yeah, I mean that's not going to be easy.
The rubber gloves are going on for surgery. Yeah.
Luckily, I'm at the pub for that. I can walk there, so I can have a few beers. I think I'm going to need them. But Brad, chances for the rest of the season, kind of the last thing we're going to talk about here. I think it was Terry saying with the injuries, he can't see top 4 happening. But I mean, generally at the end of each season, the team who are in 4th or fighting for 4th don't really want it because they lose silly games. We saw it with Arsenal last year. Countless others in years gone past. We're in 4th at the moment, but if Newcastle win their games in hand, then they're in 4th. Liverpool, depends which Liverpool turn up. Chelsea, again, probably too inconsistent, but you could see them popping up. And Brighton, don't forget Brighton. There's no pressure on Brighton at all because no one expects them to do anything. They can go right under the radar. Now, how do you see it going? We've got some really tough games. Newcastle away, United at home. I think Liverpool away.
We've got that in the space of a week.
So I think that will be the crucial period. But how do you see the season going with injuries? With new managers?
Well, that's the problem. That's the problem, isn't it? We've got to rely on the same 11 players to get us through. I guess if you looked at it from an outside point of view, so if you're not a fan of either of the teams in the race, you could say that Spurs we currently hold the position, to get the top 4, to get 4th. And also the having, we've known ourselves that having games in hand doesn't mean anything really. I think this goes down to keeping Stellini, is that the players look like they want to play for him. Although you could argue they didn't when they played Sheffield United, but it's going to be very, very difficult for us to get top 4. And if you look at it, this time last season, we were probably in a worse position. We did it last season, but I think we have got difficult games coming up, but we've also got some winnable games coming up as well.
We'll end up winning the difficult games and getting battered by the teams we should be losing against.
I think dropping 2 points to away at Southampton could prove very, very crucial.
It's 3 points
at the end of the day, but it's going to be difficult. I'm not saying it won't happen because football's a funny game. We don't know how Newcastle and Man United are going to do. And you're quite right. Brighton are in the mix. Don't write them off. And Liverpool, we don't know. We all thought Liverpool were batting and they go and lose at Bournemouth. So
it's very strange what's happening to them. But good comment. Good point here from Adam McFarlane. How you doing, Adam? Maybe our players are not used to that Conte hard training regimes. That's why we got all the injuries. I mean, that could be the case, but you'd think professionals would be able to do that, and he's done that at all of his other clubs.
As soon as the manager leaves, the players will start complaining about the training methods, won't they?
A lot of top managers, he says, will also wait to see Real Madrid go for before deciding to join us or not. But Haas, last 10 games, how do you see him going?
So I'm just bringing up the fixtures in front of me at the moment. So
it's Everton away next Monday.
Yeah. Yeah, Everton. So we've got Everton. Look, ultimately, first and foremost, the way I look at things with Tottenham is in terms of opposition, who's in the mud? Okay. Then I decide who needs some medical assistance. And then I decide who.
We're talking about football.
Yeah, we're talking about football, funny enough. But yeah, and then I sort of, from there, I sort of judge who needs a doctor. In this instance, Everton happen to be fighting for, they're fighting to stay in the Premier League. Who better than Tottenham Hotspur to show up?
I mean, Sean Dyche will make them difficult.
Yeah,
to beat,
I should actually make it. Sorry, Hass. Just before you, I should actually make the point here that you might want to blame me if we lose at Everton, because we had one of the shows I was on. We had an Everton fan on there, and I said about Richarlison. He'd take Richarlison back at Everton, and I said, "Oh yeah, but would Richarlison want to play in the Championship?" And then he quite rightly said, "Yeah, we got you next. You might be eating words."
That was on here, Brad.
Well, yeah. Sorry, Hass. Sorry.
No, that's all right. Sean Dyche is a very savvy manager. He'll know that Tottenham are somewhat, in a bit of a mire at the moment. He'll pump the lads up and say, "Look, lads, they've just lost their manager. Morale's going to be low. Let's get out there and get in their faces. Let's not make it easy for them. It's not going to be a pretty game, but let's take it to them. Just go in hard. Whatever you need to do, it's going to be tough." I'll be very surprised if this is a stroll in the park.
It won't be at all
next week, because it certainly isn't going to be one. And honestly, I can see us. I can see us actually losing that game. Honestly, I can.
Yeah.
Because, and again, look, Conte's words are ringing true, isn't it? These players don't want to fight for anything. So Everton have a hell of a lot more to fight for on Monday. Premiership survival, okay?
At home as well. It's always loud
home,
there.
Their crowd, their fans are going to be pumped up for it. They know the situation at Spurs as well. So not an easy one. Tottenham against Brighton on the 8th. I look at that. Brighton absolutely flying at the moment. They've got some fantastic players on their hands. They're playing the type of football that we were playing, under Pochettino in our pomp. Honestly,
we'll lose that one just for the fact that I'm going, and I don't get any cheeriness when I go to Tottenham these days. But
But again, look, Brighton's got something to play for and fight for. They can end up finishing in the Champions League spot.
Yeah.
But aside from that, if they finish in the Europa League, what an achievement for that club. So,
especially losing their manager as well.
Absolutely, they lost their manager early
and Trossard as well, who's a big player for them.
And that's not going to be an easy game. I mean, we've got a chance. Obviously, being at home, we're always going to have a chance at home. For me, that I don't think we'll lose it, but I can certainly see a draw. Or maybe a really, really tight game where we nick it by a goal. And, it just depends on how our defence cope with their, fluid, fast attacking one-touch football. Bournemouth at home, you'd have to say Bournemouth I know Bournemouth are fighting to stay in the league, but...
we should have enough.
If we can't win that one, there's something wrong.
I mean, we beat them 3-2 at Bournemouth earlier on in the season, and we made it hard for ourselves again. But you'd have to say... that's one of the easier games I'm looking at where we could get 3 points. Newcastle away. See, this is the thing, right? We then get into this period, don't we? Because now we're stepping into that, squeaky bum time. Newcastle away, Tottenham at home, who have got no issues beating us at White Hart Lane, or as they called it, 3-point lane. And Liverpool away, where our track record's not very good. They're
all 6 pointers, aren't they? All 6 pointers.
All 6 pointers. Look, Newcastle got more than enough to turn us over. They've got a very good defence. They've got a very good attack, and they've got a very good manager. So, for me, a point at best I can see there, if not a defeat. Tottenham versus Manchester United, we'll have to see where these clubs are at that point, because Man United, if you look at Manchester United, where they are, by the time we get to that game, we could either be ahead of them by a couple of points, or we could be below them by a few points. So it all depends on what the positions are by then. But they will, don't make no mistake, they will want to consolidate their position in that top 4. So another tough game, and we're like a deck of cards against United most of the time. We just fold. And you'd know all about that, Chris.
Barest minimum is not to lose, isn't it? It's not to lose, isn't it? The barest minimum.
Just a couple of comments as well. Adam McFarlane, I'm not sure where you've seen this. Levy has already said Poch ain't coming home. And
I haven't seen that, but
Bobby K, an American or a Canadian, I should say, using sarcasm. Have faith. We fired that shit manager whose fault our poor play was. Like the 14 before him. Clearly, our players are the best, and our managers don't know how to manage.
You got Bobby K.
Squad. We are running the table and winning every game at least.
Big up, Bobby.
How you doing, Bobby?
Son, that's the attitude.
Yeah.
Bobby K for manager.
Now I'm going to bring you back down to reality. Defeat against Liverpool.
I do apologise, Bobby. I got my words mixed up. He's Canadian. He's not American. I would like to clarify that.
Oh, that is oof. Yeah, you don't do that, Chris.
That's a bigger insult than calling you another C word, isn't it, Bobby? I do apologise.
But yeah, those are pretty much the games in April. I'm not going to go into the ones in May because we don't know where we're going to be by that point. But certainly April is going to be the defining month for us. And if we get through that, I mean, I called 6 points out of those games on my show last week. And I stick by that, if I'm being honest with you. Bournemouth, I can see us getting a point. And then I can see us perhaps grabbing another 3 points at a push against Brighton. Honestly, and that's the two home
very
games.
True, Bobby K. Very true.
Yeah.
But also, Chris, I just wanted to mention with Stellini as well. I mean, he's coming in at the moment. Will he have any pressure on him? I mean, surely
probably not.
Now that everything that's happened, and when the dust has settled, I don't think, because if he knows that he's going to be out the door after 10 games, now this can work in two ways. If he's got no pressure, it could be that he'll be too relaxed, and that could, show with how the players will set up and play. Or, he'll have a clear mind, relaxed, and he'll just get on with the job and get the players fired up. So it could work either way. But either way, I don't think Stellini should have any pressure on his shoulders, because he's not. It's not like he's going to be on the firing line. It's not like Levy's going to come out after 5 games and say, "You're fired." It's do your best for 10 games. Literally.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if we do get that manager bounce, even though it's not someone completely new coming in. Although I guess with a caretaker manager, if it was Mason, that wouldn't be someone new either. So will be quite interesting. But yeah, Everton's not going to be easy, and then that 3-game spin of the United.
Well,
Liverpool,
you've got your team talk, haven't you? You've got your team talk already done for that Everton game. Is hey, you heard what your ex-boss said about you. We'll go out and prove him wrong. That's what we have to say.
What's the point, FC? I just wanted to just say he is a regular on my show as well, and I do appreciate your comments as always. Obviously, just in terms of the kind of people we bring on to end of the sort of month show,
and also people are entitled to their opinion as well. So just because people disagree with your opinion doesn't make them what you've called him there.
I mean, all I was going to say on that is we are trying a different approach where we're trying to bring in people from different sides. Now, this isn't saying that, oh, look, our channel is pro Levy or whatever. It's not that. It's just trying to get different perspectives. Now, everyone's fully aware of my sort of stance on things. But I do try and pose the questions to people, whatever their belief is, just to try and figure out their kind of thinking. So, appreciate you tuning in last week as well. I really do. But it's a format that sort of isn't going to deviate from that. But we are going to get people on from both camps for the next few shows. So just watch out for that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I've got nothing against Shaw. Met him a couple of times. Really nice bloke, and people are entitled.
He was on Al Jazeera TV today.
Was he?
Yeah, on their sports show. They talked about Tottenham and Conte and that, and he was on there for 30 seconds. Yeah.
Huh. Oh wow,
that's pretty cool.
And actually they're giving a really good account of himself. To be fair, I was very impressed.
Yeah, we'll pretty much end there. not really much else to talk about. Like I said to Brad Haas, I wasn't going to do a show because there was nothing to talk about. And then all of a sudden, 10:30, bloody hell, I better put one together. It was to come
always something to talk about at Tottenham.
we were all on the morning brew this morning, venting from this morning. So,
yeah.
It's like all the content providers went on overdrive last night, didn't they? Sort of like all these shows are probably everywhere. It's so funny.
Yeah. You got to pull that up again, Chris. Honestly. No, the one above.
Yeah. Best meal available now at the club store for cheers, Terry. Thanks for watching and all your comments, and you, Bobby K, as well. But yeah, just remains for me to say thanks to everybody for watching and all your comments. Before you go, please make sure you hit that like if you're watching the repeat, and hit the like as well, and subscribe if you haven't already. 297 we're on. Be great to get another 3 and get to the 300.
Let's get to 300 people. Come on.
Yeah, and Chris's Magic as well. If you'd like a bit of magic, jump over there. Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. UK time. It's not a trick this week. It's a tutorial on a trick that was done a few months ago.
How to get rid of Daniel Levy?
I'm not that good. If I knew how to do that, Haas, I wouldn't be asking for 3 to get to 300. I'll be on millions. But yeah, check that out. It's a tutorial, and let me know what you think. And these two guys also have their Spurs one Spurs channel, one non-Spurs channel, both brilliant channels. They're in the description, as are their Twitter handles. But Blue Sofa Song's bad. What can people expect from
Well,
that?
if you're fed up with football and you want to see an aging, balding guy trying to make music, then come and see my channel. It's basically me trying to make some sort of sense of this world by writing songs about it. So there's some stuff in there. There's some stuff that's quite serious, bit of politics in there, but there's also some sort of more light-hearted songs, as is the current one, which is called Surfing in Outer Space. That's just basically me doing an instrumental with there is a chorus in it, but it's just a bit of fun. You even get to see me in a Star Trek jumper, so there you go.
And
so, it's I'm trying to improve whatever I do. I'm working with music software now, so what you see is, or what you hear rather, is all me. So it's all vocals of mine, all the guitars are mine, all the bass is mine, all the drum loops stuff I've hit with drum loops, you just hit a button and it does it. But actually, no, that's not true. That's not true. No, drum looping is actually quite difficult because you've got to get the different bits on there and find out how many beats they work on. Don't know. It's all me. But sorry. So please, have a look, subscribe, click the likes, share, all that sort of stuff. And also, as I say every week, these guys, and I always get the pointing wrong.
Subscribe
to their channels, whether it be the football channels or in Chris's case, his magic channels. I'm still trying to work out how he does these tricks. And Hassan is set a view from the South Stand.
Yeah, and make sure you check out Blue Sofa Song's brilliant channel. Watch it every 2 weeks. I was going to say every week then. It used to be every week.
Yeah, it's every 2 weeks now,
but make sure you check that out. Hit the subscribe. And Haas. Marlon was on last week, same channel, View from the South Stand. What can people expect on that? You've already said range of different people, Levy out, Levy in the middle. But what can people expect in the next couple of weeks?
First and foremost, as Brad was plugging his channel as well, do get over to Brad's channel. Fantastic. He puts a lot of time and effort into it. Check him out. And Chris, let's talk Tottenham. Look, we are 3 away from 300. People, I just want to say it's only 1 click. It doesn't cost nothing. Let's get him up to 300 tonight. Honestly, fantastic channel. He deserves it. So let's get their fingers on those likes. As for my channel and Marlon's channel, View from the South Stand, you can find us on YouTube. Quite unique in the way that we pretty much do match reactions from every single game, whether it's a league game, cup game, European game. Straight after the match, we've got match reactions. We have 3 or 4 guests on, and of late it's been somewhat of a therapy session, but it's quite unique in the sense
for 2 years, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. But do get over to our channel. If you want to see some match reactions, people's responses to how the match went, then get over and subscribe to our channel. hit the like button on some videos that you might like. We've just recently introduced the end of the month review show where we have various talking points from the month that's just gone by. So this month's been dominated by Conte leaving or Conte's outburst. So if you have missed that one, get over to YouTube and watch the video. It's just about 3 hours long, I believe. But get over to our channel. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, whatever you've got to do, and make sure you subscribe to these guys as well.
Excellent. Make sure you get over to View from South Stand. I could never do the show, certainly after a loss 5 minutes after a game. I need to calm down first. So big up to you guys. Make sure, like I say, please hit the like, subscribe here, notification bell, and Chris's Magic, Blue Sofa Songs, and View from South Stands. Follow that as well. No show next week because I'll be presumably shouting at the pub. I'm not sure the pub and people going out for a quiet drink will be pleased with me screaming and shouting at Tottenham to a load of other people on the podcast. But there will be a preview on Friday. I'm doing a load of shorts now as well, but less than a minute, various different things just to keep the channel kind of fresh. So they'll keep coming as well. Show on Friday. And yeah. Like I say, Blue Sofa Songs, Views from South Stand, Chris Magic, Let's Talk Tottenham. Like, subscribe, notification bell. Do all those three on all of the channels. Back on Friday. Oh, it's been a roller coaster. It's not going to ease up in the next 10 games. But, as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Thanks so much for watching, for everybody who joined in the live chat and added comments. Before you go, please leave a like and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Also, please hit that notification bell. That'll give you a notification every time we're about to go live, and it's all completely free. For those who missed the live show, you can catch this whenever you want on Let's Talk Tottenham's YouTube channel. Please also hit the like, subscribe and notification bell, and everybody please leave feedback, comments, suggestions in the comments section on the YouTube videos. For those of you who listen to the audio podcast, thank you so much for listening. Anyone who wants that audio podcast, you can pick that up wherever you get your podcast from. We're back Mondays 7:30pm UK time and Fridays 12:30pm UK time. Alternatively, if you go to Twitter at @LTalkTottenham, Instagram Let's Talk Tottenham Podcast, you'll find all the information there. Anyone who wants something a little bit different, also do a magic show. So I do one trick a week, which drops Wednesday 7:30pm UK time. Chris's Magic on YouTube is where you'll find that. But in the meantime,